Hi everyone and welcome to the Always in Season podcast with me, your host, James Golding. This is the first episode of Series 4 and I'm thrilled to welcome with me today the brilliant Dean Edwards. Dean is a Bristol-born chef. He was MasterChef finalist in 2006 and became a household name as the resident chef on ITV's Lorraine show. He is a social media sensation, aren't you, Dean? And he's known for his family-friendly style of cooking with his fakeaway recipes and his fantastic relaxed style. Dean's written 6 cookbooks so far and is focused on easy, delicious, everyday meals. And we recently had the chance of spending a lot of time together in Canada. And
we did.
Maple Ambassadors, Dean.
Absolutely.
It's a great title, isn't it?
I love it.
Honestly, it's so great having you here. And thank you so much for joining us. So for the people that don't know about you, and there can't be many, could you tell us a little bit about your journey and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty unconventional journey. It started probably, it actually did start 20 years ago, would you believe?
That's amazing.
So 20 years I've been working in the world of food, and before that, I don't know whether you know this or not, I was actually a digger driver.
Yeah, well, actually, we spoke about this in Canada. You know what, that's quite a cool thing, like digger driver to household chef name. I mean, that's a journey and a half.
It was a bit random. Basically, and we've talked loads about food, and we know, we're both very passionate about food. We come from very different opposite ends of the spectrum. You're just this incredible professional chef.
Oh,
and
thank you.
I was just someone that I loved food. And I love to eat food. And for me, cooking was that process to get good food.
Right.
And so it was something that I've always done. I was lucky enough to be brought up in a family of foodies. We all loved food. So cooking was part of that. And it was something that I just loved to do at home. I never really considered, for some reason, that it was something I could do as a job,
Yeah.
weirdly.
Yeah.
And then in 2005, pretty much my whole life changed. So I entered into MasterChef, which was actually in the second series. I always remember the end of the first series popped up, and this is how old school it was.
Right.
It was, if you want to be in the next series of MasterChef, there was a PO box. You couldn't even email back then.
Yeah.
There was a PO box.
Right.
So I sent off this little letter, never dreaming I would even get on the show.
Right.
And I had to go to a little rigorous process, an audition, written interviews, phone interviews, that sort of thing. But I was lucky enough to get chosen to appear on season 2. And little did I know it would completely change my life, because I always had believe it or not, and this is something you don't know about me.
Oh.
I was always incredibly shy.
Right.
Growing up, I found it really hard to put myself out there. I was never a risk taker. I was happy in my little bubble, doing my own thing and just being happy doing that. And so to do MasterChef really pushed me massively outside of my comfort zone. But truly, I believed I was maybe good enough to get through the first round, but that's about it, Yeah. And I made it all the way to the final.
Yeah.
And it completely changed my life, because off the back of that, all of a sudden I had opportunities to work in the world of food. And it's different to the world of food today, because now anyone with a phone and a love for food can create content and become a foodie influencer, or someone that creates recipes. Back then there wasn't really that option. It was, okay, if you want to work in food after MasterChef, you go and work in a restaurant. And I was lucky enough to have been offered a job by one of the chefs who you know very well, Daniel Clifford, offered me my first job. So I went from driving a digger to working in a 2 Michelin-star restaurant. That is a pretty big transition.
Yeah.
But it changed my life.
Yeah.
And I count my lucky stars every day that 20 years on, I'm still working in the world of food.
That's amazing. And you know what? I mean, you touched on so many things there. I think we're going to delve into elements of that little bit as we go through this. But the one thing which you did sort of talk about was how, you were quite quiet as a kid, and then obviously it brought you out of your shell. I mean, that has obviously led to, all the things you're doing on social media now. I mean, we've spoken about it at great lengths, but I'm fascinated actually in the way that you kind of put together your recipes and your shorts on your social media platforms. How do you go about that? I mean, what's a day-to-day sort of, what's the theory in your head? You wake up, you go, right, I'm cooking that today and that's going, or is it more planned out?
No, do you know what? That is actually how I lived my life, believe it or not. So when I used to work on the roads, we used to be traveling all around Bristol and the surrounding areas. I used to work for the company. We used to go and dig out for the electric companies.
Right. Okay.
But wherever my job was that day, it was in my head, right, okay, on the way, there's that's a good calf there. So we'll stop for a bit, but if there was a nice butcher's or I knew there was a good supermarket or a great greengrocers, I'd always have in my mind, what am I cooking tonight? And that's what really made me buzz about food, is the creative nature of it, So actually for me, it was about not really knowing what I was doing that day. And that's kind of panned into what I do today, because there are quite a lot of occasions where I get up and I'm like, okay, I don't necessarily have inspiration off the bat, but there's something I got that in the fridge and he's using up. Right. So, and then all of a sudden the cogs start working, and all of a sudden, you've got this kind of idea, and then it stems from there. So I think when I plan things, it doesn't necessarily turn out as well as what I'd intend them to, but I think the off the cuff kind of stuff, which is the way that people live day to day, I think at home, and maybe why my recipes resonate with home cooks, because we don't all live in an ideal world where we can go out and get great ingredients every day. Maybe sometimes it's a day where we've got to throw something together quickly because the kids are moaning that they're hungry. You've got 20 minutes, you've got pick a load of bits and pieces out of the fridge and the cupboard, and you knock something up. And that, to me, sometimes is the most exciting sort of food.
But I mean, also, we spoke about, different ends of the spectrum, within our food sort of journey. But that's essentially how we come up with ideas and put dishes on menus, right? I mean, a lot of my dishes that I love and dishes that have been most successful on a lot of my menus have literally been me driving, thinking about what I want to eat that night, and then going, right, I want to eat that, and then elevating it to something which I would then potentially serve to a customer. I think that's where you get the real passion for food, right? That's when you know that your life is definitely got to be in the world of food, because you have that excitement when you're thinking about it, and I think that's amazing. I mean, that was obviously the beginning.
And I think that's kind of what, I mean, we've spoken at length about food, but the real thing that drives food is passion, right? Exactly. So, as you said, and hunger. But you said about your most successful dishes come from thinking, what am I going to eat tonight? And that passion is something, and unless you have that passion, you're never going to put, I mean, it sounds a bit of a cliche, yourself on a plate. Do you know what I mean? And I think with food, there's passion and there's nostalgia, and the things that you grew up eating, are always going to be things that resonate with you. And I think there are so many different cuisines that are on our doorstep now. We live in a really amazing multicultural society where we're getting influence from everywhere, and we're getting great ingredients that we may not necessarily have even seen before, but it's like exciting to cook and create. And I think that's what drives me every day, to get up and, not only develop a recipe, but create a piece of content around it.
Okay, so that leads us on very, very nicely to our next. So for those of you who don't know, actually, Dean and I were out in Canada last month, and we were very lucky to be taken on the Canadian maple syrup ambassador trip, right, which was insane. I mean, we ate some incredible food. We had some incredible times. I've actually went to see an ice hockey game. I brought my cat.
There we go.
Look at that.
The Montreal Canadiens. Come on.
And it was my first ever I'm going to take this off. It was my first ever ice hockey match, and it was just thrilling. But on the back of that, I mean, we had food that I'd never had before, things that we will both remember for a very long time. So, for example, that bacon, right? We went to this little sugar shack, didn't we? And he cooked this bacon thick, what was it, like streaky smoked bacon. Charcoal. He put like this chili Cajun spice on it, and then we put maple butter on it. And honestly, I literally could feel my heart growing with love for this food. But at the same time, I mean, I think I had about 15 slices.
There are a few moments in life where you will remember that one bite. I always think to myself, what would it be like to go back now in time and experience my first taste of chocolate? How would I have experienced that? And there are sometimes one bites that you go, oh my God. And for me, and it's 3 ingredients.
Yeah, I know.
And that will be one that will be with me forever. That bacon, not only was it great quality bacon, but it was the smokiness of the bacon cooked over the charcoal, that rub with a lovely chili kick, which was offset by the maple butter. So you've got savoury and sweetness and saltiness, and it was a thing of beauty.
It was absolutely stunning. I mean, and also, you know, seeing the maple being produced in those sugar shacks. I mean, I've been very, very lucky to be out there before, but not to those specific shacks. And I really found that it was a complete sort of family process, was it? You can see those guys talking about how it's such a short season and the way they reduce the maple syrup and it gives it different colours. I mean, for me, that it felt like we were coming into someone's home, right? Into their family.
Got brought into a little community, and also, for me, it was about learning. And I thought I knew about the process, but it's not until you see the process that you go, wow, what an incredible product.
Yeah.
How minimal and clean the product is. And that's something that actually goes under the radar. So to actually go there and go to a sugar shack and see it being made, and that smell, again, will stick with me because I walked in and I was like, oh, I could live in here. You know, I think we brought back the maple candles to try and recreate that at home. But it was just an amazing experience. And to see it made from scratch, from the source, right there in front of your eyes was something that will stay with me for a long, long time.
So we're going to change the subject a little bit. I want to talk about the process with MasterChef, because you were saying about how it was different back then to what it is now. I mean, obviously we see all the food plated up at the same time, all set out. You know, how does that actually work? You know, when you're doing the competition, is it like everybody finishes and then they get cold food? I know that there's probably a question that comes up.
I mean, I probably can't give away too much.
No, I don't want to say what you shouldn't.
But I will say I think the process has changed quite a lot over the years, you know, and I think the most kind of telling part of it is, you know, when I entered back into the show, which was filmed in 2005, actually aired in 2006, there was really no precedence for it changing anyone's life. You know, it was a show at 6:30 on the BBC Two on a weeknight, and now it's the biggest cookery show in the entire world. So to have played a part in that and become one of, you know, a very small number of people who actually made it to the final is something quite special. But obviously, it's not at the level it is now. And I see some of the levels of the cooking that takes place during the competition now, and I'm like, wow, right. I would have been kicked out first round back in the day, you know. But food changes and trends change, and you know, it's an incredible platform. Whereas back then, I genuinely believed I was just going to go back to driving my digger, you know, with a great experience under my belt. And
then obviously that led to Lorraine, right? I mean, was that straight after?
No. It was, obviously I mentioned I went to work in Midsummer House for a bit, which was crazy. And I was lucky enough. I wasn't there for a long, long time, you know.
I don't think anybody is.
But it was an incredible experience. And I had some amazing chefs around me who knew I was completely out of my depth. Right. And a few of them I'm still in contact with now, 20 years on, because they looked after me. You know, I was thrown in the deep end, and they really looked out for me and looked after me. And it was almost like they could have been the sort of people that go, okay, we worked all our lives to get to this level. You've been gifted an opportunity. We're going to just let you fail. Sure. They didn't want me to. Yeah. So they helped me, and I will never forget that. I will never forget that. But the TV thing was something that I didn't want to do, right? Because of the shyness. Yeah. And that really affected me even whilst I was doing it. And I always remember my life basically changed almost on a moment overnight. And I'll get a bit deep here, chef. But I remember I was lucky enough to have been taken on as a resident chef on This Morning. Yeah. So I got a weekly, sometimes 2 weekly slot alongside Phil Vickery and Gino D'Acampo. We were the 3 resident chefs, and I was just an absolute newbie to the world, and not only being in front of camera and everything like that, but doing live TV. And I think I was so worried about being that person, you know, imposter syndrome. Yeah. You probably heard about that, and I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing here. Right. Yeah. Why would the audience want to see me cooking? Yeah. When there are chefs who've worked their entire career who kind of know what they're doing. Why are they watching me instead? And it changed in a heartbeat, because I remember I just go back and overanalyze and watch the show back. Oh, I should have done this different. And I looked at it one day and I said, Dean, you've not enjoyed that one bit. And I could just see it in my face. It was almost painful.
Yeah.
And I said, you're not going to be doing this for very long if you don't learn to love what you're doing. And I love to cook. And I said, I'm talking to myself. It sounds a bit weird, but I just basically had a word with myself and said, you snap out of it. You're getting to do something that millions of people would love to do. You're cooking food for, TV royalty, and you're not enjoying a single second of it. And it was like, that was it. It was like a catalyst moment. I've gone, nah, I can't, this is a chance to change my life.
Yeah.
And from that day, I was like, you can't shut me up now, James, as you can you can tell.
Where's that shy person gone?
But I completely changed. Something clicked, and I said, not many people get an opportunity to do something that they love on a platform like that. And I think I grew into it. And now I feel very lucky to have had very many different experiences in the world of food now. And, it just, I feel grateful every day, put it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously you did other shows. I mean, you did, Chef versus Corner Shop, and you've done your air fryer. I mean, that actually that leads us on quite nicely to the books, right? 'Cause you've done quite a few books now. I mean, George, that's an interesting process in itself. I mean, obviously I've written a few books, I've been involved in a few books, but I think you take it to another level because you seem to, every time I see you, you're doing another book, right?
Well, I've just finished book number 7. I can't announce what it is just yet because it's top secret, but yeah, I've just finished book 7. And if someone would have said to me all these years ago, I would have done one book, I would have gone, no chance. There's not a chance,
Right.
So to have done 7 books. But I find, my style of recipe writing has really changed over the years. And I was always known for my family style food, quite simple food. But I think a couple of years ago, I think the penny finally dropped for me where I thought to myself, actually, in this kind of market now, you do really need to stand out and have a little bit of a difference from other people. And my thing was, instead of getting more complicated, I thought, no, because look at the audience you're trying to kind of capture. And it was that family audience. And actually it was like, no, take away the vanity aspect which comes from cooking. And you as a professional chef know, there is always a danger of going, oh yeah, but 1 or 2 more ingredients.
Set too far.
Just to make it look a little bit pretty.
Yeah,
and there's that little bit of garnish. I started thinking to myself, okay, right, if I say in a recipe, garnish with a bit of fresh parsley at the end, how many people are actually going to go, right, oh God, I ain't got the fresh parsley. I'm not going to bother now.
Or how many people put it in front of their kids and they take it off?
Yeah, right, yeah. So it was about, right, how many ingredients can I pare back on?
Yeah.
So my recipes went from that long to that long.
Okay.
Right? It's kind of under 10 ingredients.
Yeah.
All familiar ingredients, all accessible ingredients that people can go, that looks nice. I've got a lot of that in the cupboard.
Yeah.
I can do that.
Yeah.
And then that's when the penny dropped for me. And all of a sudden I saw my social media platform starting to go.
And this was the fakeaway thing, right? I mean, that's because we spoke about that quite a lot, didn't we? That fakeaway
we did.
Series that you did was, I mean, that was insane. I mean, I've been watching quite a lot.
Well, it's all about, I mean, James, I won't lie to you, I'm a bit tight. You probably know that.
No.
I'll be grudge breathing out on occasions. But it was all about money saving for me, and going to a takeaway. Let's talk about your family of 4.
Sure.
That's. I mean, you're probably talking 50, 60 quid now, and I'm like,
well, yeah.
Whoa. So for me, it was all right. Right, how can I save people money? Okay, I'm going to show them how to make that at home. I've replicated it as closely as you can for a fraction of the price, and that's, I think, what connected with a lot of people. And really that was the series that kind of changed everything for me, in terms of the social media stuff. I saw my social media accounts, I think about across them all now, about 1.4 million.
Wow. Yeah. It's a lot.
Madness. And they all love my annoying face.
Well, this was one thing that we spoke about in Canada, right? And who, I think it was Vernon or something, said to you about this, right? And you said, oh, you won't believe the amount of people that message me and say, I want to punch you in the face or something like that. It's because of your smell. Can you talk a little bit about this?
Yeah.
I found this insane.
But I think someone said to me once, if you're successful in life, you'll have an equal amount of people who love you and hate you.
Sure.
And I thought I must be doing something right, because I get just as many messages, people going, Dean, I love that recipe. I cooked it. My family loved it. As people going, that smile, I really would love to punch you in the face. And I get it, because I annoy myself sometimes.
Right.
My daughter constantly takes the mickey out of me. You know, she's like, because I always hold.
Hang on, she is a teenager, right? I mean,
Well, she is. You know,
that's
she hasn't got a
prerogative,
clue.
right?
You know,
But you did that thing. That,
yeah. So, you know, always, I guess it's about standing out in a very congested social media market. Right. And that's why you get people, you know, people have catchphrases, people have certain formats that they like to stick to. And for some reason, videos of me holding food to a camera whilst pulling an annoying...
Do it now.
So I just do it. So
yeah,
it goes a little bit like this. Just warm up.
Yeah, go on.
So I get the plate and I go... And it's really over the top. I won't
Marmite.
you.
That's a Marmite. Yeah.
It's a Marmite smile. So I can understand why people want to punch me, but there we go.
Oh, well, there we go. I just need to wait for that to flood in now. They'll probably get something off the back of this. But anyway. So obviously we spoke about the books. We've spoken about, you know, the social media stuff and your time at Midsummer House. What's happening now within the world of Dean Edwards? Because you've always got amazing stuff going on. Obviously, you're still doing the maple stuff. I know we got bits and pieces in the pipeline, but what's your next few months looking like?
Do you know what is the most exciting thing for me, actually? And this was something that would have made me crazy back in the day. Life changes so quickly, and at the moment, I'm just finishing off book 7, which I've mentioned. So we're having the photo shoots for that particular book over the next couple of weeks. But madly enough, and my daughter always says, Dad, I reckon you're the oldest influencer around. And I hate that word, by the way. I don't see myself as an influencer. I think I'm a content creator, so to speak.
That's what I've called themselves. Yeah.
I never really kind of thought I was going to be in part of this world where I was creating video recipes and stuff like that. But that's kind of where I find myself. So I've got some really exciting brand work at the moment, including the maple stuff, and it's just, for me, it's an absolute buzz to work with great ingredients or products and say, what can I create?
Right.
And that keeps me buzzing, you know, and like, honestly, for me to have the opportunity every day to go, right, what do you want to do today? And go, I'm going to be creative. Yeah. And that for me just leads to everything. So yeah, there's quite a few little bits and pieces on the boil going forward. And
that's brilliant.
And it makes me really excited about the future, because whereas in the past it would have terrified me, the fact that you never kind of really know what's around the corner is something that is actually really exciting. And when I get a spare 2 minutes, not only am I running after me 18-year-old, no, she was like a 6-year-old, 18-month-old baby at home. I tried to save a bit of time to create for myself, because that ultimately, that's where it comes back to, and that's what leads to different styles of work, you know. But it's not something that I would ever have thought I would be doing with my life approaching 50, but there we go.
So it's quite interesting. So obviously you have your 6-year-old daughter. I have a 16-year-old daughter as well. You've got a young child. I've got a 5-year-old little Wren. And we were talking about, you know, your daughter's obviously a very successful dancer. Mine's decided to go into the world of cooking, and she's basically now doing an apprenticeship at the Goring. But I took her on stage, right? So I know I did the Christchurch Food Festival recently. We had maple syrup down there. We were doing some really fun stuff. I brought Rio on stage to do a demo with me. And you know, when you're there, right, you got the guy behind you who's in control of the mics. Well, I started to sort of, you know, when you apply a little bit too much pressure to your 16-year-old and she snaps and attacks you verbally, right, you know, and you get that whole, oh, Dad, you know, sort of thing. Rio, if you're listening, this is for you. And basically...
I bet the crowd love that, though.
Yeah, oh, yeah, they loved it. But I'm there going... Cut the handheld mic, cut the handheld mic like this to the guy. He wasn't there, he wasn't listening. So I ended up having a little back and forth with his 16-year-old.
That's what it's all about.
It's what it's all about, Dean, isn't it? But, you know, within the world of you know, enjoyment and cooking with your family, you know, I find that food brings people together. And I love the way that you're able to really give families and give people really great inspiration in cooking amazing dishes.
Yeah, and I think that's what it's all about for me. It's that is really the driving force every day, you know, in terms of doing what I do. Because actually what people don't see about social media, right? This is my bugbear. This is my moon.
Right. Let it out.
So you get some people who go, oh, that's an ad. And it's like, hang on, right? What that ad does for me is allowing me to do the 99% of work that I do for free. Actually, not for free. This is what costs me money every day to go out, go shopping, buy the ingredients to create a recipe that I give to you for free.
Yeah.
You know,
People don't think about that, do they?
you can't please them all, you know.
Yeah.
But it's a very creative world, and it's a very congested world, and it's all about kind of just, I guess, trying to make yourself sort of stand out a little bit. But yeah, it's a wicked way to I guess earn a living, which is not one that I kind of thought I would be doing.
But also, you know, just hitting back on that advertiser thing. I mean, obviously we were at the ice hockey match, right?
Yes.
And you know, I lived in America for a while. You know, you've been to Florida recently. You know what it's like up there. Wherever you go in these stadiums, you're surrounded by advertising, and the immense amount of it was mad, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So, you know, it's almost like over there, it's not even thought about really. It's just part of day to day. I think in England we tend to think, oh well, you know, he's taken up, but you know, money has to come from somewhere to generate that.
Yeah, exactly.
But while I was thinking about that, I want to tell a story about the ice hockey stick.
Oh, that was brilliant.
Because you captured the
I did, yes.
situation.
There was a situation where, I mean, if any of you lot at home have seen an ice hockey match, you know that ice hockey is only part of the story. The punch-ups that go on in between are what really I think people go to watch, and they slam each other into the side of the...
It's very physical.
I mean, it's crazy to watch it. Right? But anyway, this giant ice hockey player slammed another guy into the fences, and his ice hockey stick flew out of his hand towards the crowd, and a guy has literally just reached up and grabbed it, and he's celebrating like he'd won the World Cup.
Yeah.
And he's got this ice hockey stick and he's gone crazy. I was lucky enough, I had my camera rolling the whole time.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
So I managed to catch it all on camera, and they came and took it away. Can you imagine?
Yeah, I did.
And the whole crowd were bummed, but they did give him a signed, used hockey stick from the player. So they did replace it with one, but it was autographed as well. So he was happy. Right. But yeah, I was lucky enough to get it all on video. Yeah. And I mean, I guess that's me. Always got the camera out, filming bits and pieces. But I sent it to him, and he emailed. Oh, you sent it? Yeah. I managed to get his email, so I sent him all the video files and stuff. He was buzzing.
It's amazing. You know, I mean, so I think within that trip, you know, I mean, obviously we saw the sugar shacks, we ate some incredible restaurants. We really did get to understand the entire process of making maple. But at the same time, we also learned about Canadian culture. Right? I mean, it wasn't just about the maple. It was sorry, I'm going to put my cap back on talking about this. You know, it wasn't just about the maple experience. It was about the full culture, and it really excited me. Actually,
it was the culture, but also how proud they are of that culture. Yeah, and the product that they produce. It's something that you can just see. It's in the blood. Yeah. You know, and it truly is. And that can sound really cliche, but it truly is. And these families run their business, and it's not like big business over here where there's big factories. You know, these are family-run business, and they're reliant on the weather more than anything, aren't they? Because what absolutely blew my mind was the process of how they make the maple. Yeah. And the season is very short, and it's spent the rest of the year actually setting up for that one very quick season, and they're completely reliant on the weather. And, you know, it's a tough industry to be in, and that's why, you know, they're producing this incredible product that you can see why they're so proud of it. Yeah. Well, long may it last, and you know what? I can't wait to go back out there. Maybe we'll just go out there and do like a group holiday out there, just eat loads of bacon.
and just watch loads of ice hockey. I think let's do it, Dean. But honestly, thank you so much for being on the show today. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us. Please do tune in next time to see all of Dean's details and information. Please do check it out on the show notes and on the website. And if you've enjoyed this episode, please do share with family and friends. And don't forget to subscribe and keep updated with all the latest episodes. Dean,
thank you, Chef.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Absolute pleasure. Cheers, guys.